Well, as we head towards the end of another financial year, around this time, there are a bunch of charities who are saying, hey, if you're going to make a donation in the lead up to the end of financial year to get a tax deduction, look at me. And why don't you think carefully about who you might make a donation to this year? Let's talk to Gavin Martin, get some advice on how and where and when and why it's the best time to make a donation to a particular charity. Gavin Martin from Cornerstone Wealth, welcome back to 2020.
G'day Neil, great to be with you again.
Gavin, this is the time of year. There are a bunch of charities who have their hands up, and there are a lot of people who are saying, well, I have a few spare dollars in cash to be able to donate to a charity. Is this a good time of year to think about that?
It certainly is a great time of year to think about this, and it might be that you have some spare cash. It might be that you've received a bonus from work and are going to incur a larger tax bill, or you might have sold an asset at a profit, or you might simply just want to bless somebody. So that your motivations might be different, but the reason why it's a good time to think about it now is that if you give that donation, a tax-deductible donation, before the 30th of June, then you can get the benefit of that very soon after the financial year. If you do it after June, then you're going to wait over 12 months, potentially 15 months or more to get the benefit of that tax deduction. So that's why it's a great time to think about it now before the 30th of June.
How does it benefit us financially, Gavin, when we make a tax-deductible donation to a worthy charity in the lead up to this financial year? When it comes to dollar terms, is there a way you can illustrate what sort of a saving you can make, or how much further your donation can go?
Yes, a tax-deductible donation reduces your taxable income by the amount of the deduction. So, for example, if you earn between $20,000 and $37,000, your tax rate is 20, including the Medicare levy, is 20.5%. So if you donate $100, because of the tax deduction that's involved, it's only really costing you about $80. So then you could potentially give more if you wanted to, or you can just give the $100 knowing that it's only going to cost you $80. If you look at someone on a bit higher earnings level, if say for example the average income earner, their tax rate is 34% if you include the Medicare levy. If they were to give $1,000, it's only going to cost them $660. And so you can see how the benefit of giving these tax-deductible donations before the 30th of June can really both assist the organisation you're giving to, but also reduce your tax as well.
As I mentioned, a lot of Christian charities this time of year all saying, hey, look at us if you're giving a tax-deductible donation. I don't know whether you know how charities have been faring in general, but when there are tougher times, does that often mean that sometimes people hold back with their giving, or do people actually have something of an emotional affiliation with a lot of these charities, and because they know it's a tougher time, actually their generosity increases?
I haven't seen recent statistics, but generally that is the case, that as there are tougher times that people, I guess, hold back and aren't able to give as much. But there's also another trend, or as demographics change, a lot of the giving, particularly in the Christian space, as I understand it, happens with the older generation. And so as they move on in age and their income might be less as they move into retirement, then the pool of the main givers reduces. So I guess that's a message for those at the other end of the spectrum, those that are younger, to really think about, stepping up to the plate and potentially giving. And if you're on a higher income, for example, if you're on $180,000 or more, and you're on the highest tax bracket of 46.5%, then a gift of $10,000 is going to cost you just about half of that. So you might consider giving, double the amount that you might otherwise thought, or you can just give that amount and know that it's only going to cost you about half of what you actually give.
Of course, we talk about these sorts of things in June, in the lead up to the end of the financial year, and as you say, if you take advantage of the opportunity to give in this month, you don't have to wait another whole year before you have your taxation issues dealt with by way of your tax return. This really is quite a time when people are thinking very seriously about what they can do to be effective with those spare dollars.
Yeah, and often it's been there are a range of strategies, not just donating, but there are a range of strategies that you can implement to reduce your tax should you have a higher tax burden than you expected. But some of these strategies end up failing. So a lot of people did this over the last few years with agribusiness, but the investments actually have failed and a lot of people have lost their money. But we know that when you donate and it's going to an organisation that's going to use those funds, you know that it's going to be used. So I guess you can see donating the money means that you're going to get return on that investment, whereas some of the other investments you're not going to get that same return.
Interestingly, Gavin, churches are not organisations that you can give a tax-deductible donation to, although some churches have various charity arms in which you can make a tax-deductible donation.
Yes, that's exactly right, and I always like to bring up the analogy of that you should really think about where you want to give to as your first priority, and not just necessarily have the tax decision driving, not letting the tax tail wag the giving dog, so to speak. So if you really feel as though you should be giving to an organisation that's doing evangelical type work, reaching out to people, and therefore can't be a tax deductible organisation, then give to it and forego the tax deduction, but know that you're giving to the organisation that you really want to give to.
Well, it is an important time of year to be thinking very seriously about giving, and certainly to hear of the advantages that you can access by way of tax deductibility. That's an important thing to know. Just point you to Gavin Martin's website, Cornerstone Wealth, www.cornerstonewealth.com.au, and a reminder that when we're talking advice with Gavin, it's general in nature, and you should see your personal financial advisor to take into consideration those personal circumstances that you have. Gavin Martin, always a pleasure talking, and thank you so much for being with us again today on 2020.
It's nice to be with you, Neil.